All right, looks like we are live. Let's go ahead and just double check the audio really quick. Let's see. Okay. This is a subject to deal in Florida, 8075 Shalom Drive, Spring Hill, Florida. Give some credit to the folks here. I mean, they got a really nice layout, how they kind of laid everything out. Sub 2 entry cost is $45,000. Okay. Total purchase price, 320 grand. So let's start writing some of these numbers down. 320,000, $45,000 total entry. So I'm just gonna put that right over here. That includes everything already, including things. So here's some details there. Loan balance, 269,705, 269,705. This is a 3.25% interest rate. Mature date 9/1/51, so I'm putting 9/1/21, 9/1/21, just doing backing out 30 years. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1670 square feet. Private pool, no HOA, no restrictions. There are some liens on here that you don't have any payments for. There's a HUD mortgage, so maybe this is one of those things. All right, let's go ahead and see when this is going to be a deal. So if I go ahead and look at this property, let's look at Zillow. What county is this in? So I want to know what county it is in so I can look up the fair market rents. This is in Hernando County. You see right here, Hernando County. So I'm going to go to HUD FMR. When I go to HUD FMR, I click on the first link and then I click on access a small area FMR. Look up FY 2024 FMRs. Go to Florida, go to Hernando County, and now I'm going to get these 34606. The maximum rent or a rent ceiling by bedroom count by zip code. And you can see right here for 34606, the 3-bedroom rent ceiling, usually this includes utilities, so just be careful, is $19.90. So I'm going to write this one down. 1990, and then the 4-bed is $24.30, 2430. Okay. Now 34606, 34606. That's a 4-bed, and that's a 3-bed. All right, I'm just writing down these numbers because my partners know how to analyze deals. So this is just going to be a little bit easier for them to kind of follow. Now that I got the rent ceiling, the next thing I want to do is look up my market rents. Now, when you go to affordablehousing.com, go to the owner section, click on market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. You're going to see this number here on the far right, 2116. 2116, and that's actually going to be a higher number than a rent ceiling. So I want to use 1990 as the rent for this property. 1988. Now I'm also going to look up the rents for a 4-bedroom. Let's see if that jumps up pretty dramatically. 1765. You actually see it go down. So there is no demand here for a 4-bed versus a 3-bed. That's interesting, right? It's a little opposite what you expect, because if you thought, hey, let's go convert a garage into the 4th bedroom, thinking I was going to get extra, let's say $400 in rent, $440, because you saw that the FMR went from 1990 to 2430, but then they look at comps in the area and you see that the rents for 25 units within a 2.9-mile radius, it's actually 1765. You have to take the lower of the two. So in this scenario, this is not worth the effort, in my opinion, at least at an initial glance, to turn this into a 4-bedroom. So it's not worth the money to, let's say, put in a mini split in there so you get some air in there, whatever. If you do create a brand new room from a sunroom or a garage, which is pretty common in Florida. Now, I want everybody to make sure you understand the rent reasonableness test. And the rent reasonableness really states that the PHA, or Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. And that is a rent reasonableness test. That is why you can't just assume you can get whatever rent you want. They always look at comps in the area based on locations, quality, size, etc., to determine whether or not you can charge more. Because you can't charge more rent just simply because they are a voucher holder. Okay. All right. So now that we got the FMR, we got the market rent, and I'm probably going to use the rent as 1990, which is the rent ceiling that I used and saw for the FMR, not even including utilities for now. So let me plug in some numbers. So this property was how many square feet? 1670. And from the photos, it looks pretty good. I mean, you might want to paint it to a more neutral color, but besides that, the flooring looks great. So I'm just going to assume that maybe I need to touch up the paint on half the place, just in case there's some work on a property that I cannot see just based off the photos. So I'll do 1670. I'll probably divide the square footage by 2. So I'm doing right here, which is interior paint, 1670 divided by 2. And that gets me to the $835 835 square foot number, and I multiply that at $3 a square foot to get to $2,500. I'm going to set aside a little bit of money for roof because it looks a little tired, and I'm going to set aside maybe $500 to clean up the landscaping here, just for keeping the property upkept while we are getting the property ready to be rented out. So $5,400. Now, if my rent is $1,990, $4,500. I got nothing else except for 2% closing costs right here. Might even be 2.5%, but it's okay. Now I know my total PITI is what? 1861. So in order for me to back into my property tax number and my insurance number, I have to do 1861 subtracted by the principal portion of the subject to loan, which means you're buying the property subject to existing financing. So you're just taking over the payments on the underlying loan. So you don't have to get a new loan just to pay off the old loan. Okay. Now that you get that number, it's 687. I'm going to add at least $50 for the insurance policy because Florida insurance continues to go up every single year. And on top of that, chances are this was a prime residence property. And if you are now turned into a rental property, then typically there is a higher cost in insurance premium. So that's why I'm adding extra $50, even though the property tax number includes the taxes and the insurance number already. Okay. All right. So we got 10% set aside for maintenance. We got no HOA, no other expenses / other. And then we got property management, 8%, vacancy at 5%. So this deal at 3-bedroom, assuming you get 1990, you'd be negative $378 of cash flow, and that'd be a negative 8% cash on cash return. Now, because you see that the market rent is 2116, well, what if you got 2116? Now, all of a sudden, you would be renting out of the market, not necessarily to Section 8, but maybe on a market, but you will still be losing $282 a month, and that's roughly a minus 6% cash on cash return. Now, after you plug in all these scenarios, right, that's how you figure out whether or not this is worth your time. Now, for me, personally, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call, but that is a step that you want to take to decide whether or not that deal is a deal for yourself, right? In this scenario, it's a negative cash flowing deal. So it doesn't matter how much more rehab it is because you're not making money on a monthly basis. And even once it's positive, then you might think about, well, what happens if I invest a little bit more? What if we find something during the inspection and it costs more rehab? These are all the things that you have to go through in your head and decide whether or not that's worth the execution risk that you're about to take on. Because guess what? Sometimes a contractor might not finish their job on time. Sometimes a contractor won't do things on time. And those are all the different items that you're going to want to figure out and decide whether or not that's worth a while for yourself to explore. So in this scenario, this is not a deal because we went through it and we did it. We went through all the details, and it wasn't also worth the amount of effort that it was going to take for you to turn into a 4-bedroom. Okay. All right. So that's what we want to go through today. We found a deal. Props to the wholesalers here and the wholesaling team. They laid out the property really well. They gave the great details. It just wasn't a deal for us personally. If your only exit strategy is long-term rentals or Section 8, now if your strategy was, let's say, midterm rentals, well, maybe that's a deal for you because you might find a different way to get higher rents. If you're into short-term rentals, at least it wasn't HOA, so maybe that's also within the realm of possibility as long as you have the legislative support from your city or your county that actually allows short-term rentals. So these are all the items that you're going to want to figure out whether or not you want to implement into your practices every single day. And the reason we do this is so that we can get better analyzing deals together, right? And this deal, we didn't roll it out right away because there was a little bit of spread between the PITI and the rent that we're able to get from the fair market rents. And when we saw that the rents for 4-bedroom actually went higher on the fair market rents, we also thought, hey, what if we turned this into a 4-bedroom? But in this scenario, it wasn't a deal because when we saw that the market rent for a 4-bedroom actually went down, then because of the rent reasonableness test, you now know that, hey, there is not really a true incremental rent or gross rent that you can get just by turning to a 4-bedroom, which you might be able to do creatively in another deal. So that doesn't apply in this scenario. So that's it. I hope you guys are able to copy what I did today. Analyze the same deal using the same spreadsheet. Just DM me your email at investwithkenhe on Instagram. You want to copy the spreadsheet, and I will have my team send it over to you. And I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. I hope you guys have some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. So hope you guys copy my homework. Put it on your own YouTube channel. Create that undeniable track history for yourself so that when a deal comes across your table and slaps you across the face, you can recognize the deal. And the only way you feel confident in spotting deals is by showing yourself that you have an undeniable track history of being consistent, doing the work day in and day out, no excuses. I tell people all the time, I was live on Instagram analyzing deal, even during my 12-year anniversary with my wife. And my wife asked, hey, what are you going to work on our anniversary? And I said, well, the skill I'm working on this year is the skill of having no excuses. And if I'm live analyzing deals on my 12-year anniversary, what excuses do other people have? Right? There will always be a reason for you to not do something. There will always be a reason for you not to put in the work. The only person that lets that happen is going to be you. So don't become an excuse. Let's keep getting better together. And thank you so much for being part of the affordable housing community. Without people like you guys, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for day 235. Have a good one.